Thank you, everyone. Firstly, welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining us today. It's a very special day for us at Matrix. We've been working, the whole team at Matrix has been working for the last few months on with the team at BCG, coming up with a report on the future of consumer tech in India. This report is titled Digitizing Consumers in India, DCII. The report is actually going to be released later at this event. There's a bunch of insights, bunch of takeaways on that report, and we'll unpack them through the evening later today. But first, I want to just take a step back, just to acknowledge how far I guess the whole ecosystem has come. If I look at India today, we're about a $3.5 trillion economy. Maybe about 5% of that is digitally penetrated. Right? So there's a digital market cap of about 150 to 200 billion. If you take all the unicorns, all the listed companies put together, that's about the market cap of the internet economy in India today. As we fast forward over the next decade, India will become a $10 trillion economy, with anywhere between 20 to 25% digital penetration. That represents a digital market cap of between $2 to $3 trillion over the next decade. Right? It's incredibly exciting for all the entrepreneurs in this room, for us as investors, for everybody who's working at these startups, because I don't think the world has ever seen this kind of value creation in such a short period of time. Right? And we will have a bunch of entrepreneurs who will come in today. We have a great keynote speaker, and then after that we have a panel. We're going to unpack a lot of these trends that we expect to play out that's going to contribute towards this sort of 2 trillion of digital market cap. But first, to kick off the evening, Bhavish and I are incredibly excited and honored and privileged to have Bhavish Aggarwal, founder of Ola Group, to come and talk to us. We at Matrix were very fortunate to be early investors and partners in the Ola journey. We've seen Bhavish grow from a young and daring founder, similar to a lot of you in the audience here, and on Zoom probably, into who competed and won against aggressive global competitor and came out on top. To almost this passionate entrepreneur with limitless ambition, he really personifies the Indian dream. For a lot of you who have seen Matrix Moments or follow Matrix Moments, we have this podcast on Infinity Entrepreneurs, and Bhavish is actually one of the inspirations behind that podcast. So while originally known for Ola and now increasingly for Ola Electric, I don't know how many people here in the room have tried the bike. Quick show of hands, yes. There is so much that everyone still doesn't know about the Ola Group and its future plans. So, without too much further ado, we're excited to have him on, and we'll hear the story from the horse's mouth.
So, with that, as serving VCs to our companies, first let's introduce Ola Electric. So, can we have the video, please? So while we cue the video, I'm on behalf of Bhavish, I'm inviting everybody to visit this if you want to be proud of true breakthrough technological innovation happening in the country. Let's play the rest of it. So this is all the input. There's a video that went up yesterday, which we'll play for 30 seconds, and then we'll introduce the man behind all of this. This is the most advanced. Um, if you have followed the evolution of electric vehicles, smart systems, one of the most advanced software systems. And this output is a preview of what's coming in the next Move OS. The operating system is called Move OS. That's working, it's not working here. Okay, never mind. I think
just
it got
replay it, right?
glitched. Try it again.
Just try it one more time. I think the frames are.
So the point is it's got multiple modes. नहीं हो रहा? So while we are queuing that, we'll chat with Bhavish. We'll have a little bit of a fireside chat. Would love for all of you to participate. You can ask him any questions, including your Ola driver cancellations. Everything is fair game. Mobility business is multiple dimensions. So this is not staged. There's no Photoshop. This is actually on the factory in the campus. So with that, let's invite the man behind all of this, Bhavish.
Hi guys. Hi.
We can hear you. We can't see you.
See me and hear me.
We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
See me. I can see you guys.
Yes.
Yes. Now we can see you.
You can see me. Hi. Wonderful to be here with you all, Lavi. Unfortunately, not in person, but thank you for having me. Really excited to interact with everybody, and happy to keep it, like you said, as conversational. Controversy is welcome. Whatever.
Bhavish, thank you for doing this. I know you couldn't be here in person, but appreciate you. Let me come out that side so you can see me. Appreciate you doing this for us on Zoom. I'm going to kick off with the first question. And Bhavish, Avnish and me have both been incredibly fortunate to have seen your entrepreneurial journey up close. And I still remember the early days when we first met in 2012. But
Yes.
for the benefit of the audience here, there's a lot of young entrepreneurs, both on Zoom as well as in the room. How is the Bhavish of today different from the Bhavish of, say, 2012, 2013? And just talk a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. Tarun, before I start about my journey, like you said, I've known you and Avnish and Vikram and Rajinder and the whole gang for, I think, maybe my entire entrepreneurial life. And, what started off as a VC relationship where I was raising money from you guys as a VC. Now, when I raise money from you, it's a friends and family round.
Price.
Price might have gone up a little bit, but it's okay. No, but to all the entrepreneurs in the room, I want to say, Matrix for me is actually like family, and the key people here are in many ways more than friends and family. They're true entrepreneur backers, true people who want to see everybody succeed, and they put their heart into it. So there would be no better VC firm I would like to partner with in India than Matrix. So
Thank you. That was unscripted.
Yeah.
No, now coming to my journey. So my journey has been very interesting, Tarun, and I started off in 2010 with a ride-hailing company. Back then, even the ride-hailing industry globally was very early, and I was lucky enough before I started off to have a very strong grounding in technology, and I think that's relevant for what I'm going to speak today. So I'll give that kind of a prelude. That I went to IIT Bombay, then I worked in research. Actually, I was on a PhD track in life. I was about to go for a PhD. I got calls from Berkeley, a few other places, but decided not to go there and rather start up. And I started up with a ride-sharing business, which back then in 2010 was just as digital India was just getting conceptualized, I guess, back then, and the whole digital paradigm, cell phones connecting people, GPS being available on every phone, fast data connections, etc., was just very early in those days. And I feel I was very lucky to get into entrepreneurship at that time with the whole growth of the digital ecosystem in India, and at the very early part of the S curve. So since then, obviously, Ola has expanded significantly. Today, we have three main businesses in the group. Ola Mobility obviously is the original one, with largest in India. It's a well-known. It's not a well-known point, but we are very profitable. That company makes good cash. Then about 3-4 years ago, we started Ola Electric just before COVID, with the mission to really take the EV and the climate change revolution to humanity scale. Because back then, 2019, etc., when I looked at this industry, I realized that people were not talking about EVs at all globally. Also, forget India. But for the technologist in me, was very excited by seeing what the potential was, and
Oops, sorry guys. We'll just let him reconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bhavish, you're back.
sorry, I'm back. Did you guys?
We lost the
Can you hear
last 5 seconds, but before that, we followed everything.
Okay, my apologies. No, I'm saying, we started Ola Electric with this mission to really take the EV revolution to humanity scale. And there's no better place to do that than India, because India is a microcosm of humanity. And when we set upon that journey, we decided to build at scale, and we decided to build deep technology. And that's when actually my own understanding of what technology means started to evolve. Because till then, I was a digital entrepreneur like most people in the startup ecosystem in India. But today, as I went about building Ola Electric, and then after that, the third business, which is Ola Cell Technologies, where we are building, as you saw in the video, India's largest lithium manufacturing and technology setup. Today, my own perspective on what entrepreneurship can enable for India, what are the opportunities in India, has really evolved beyond just the digital space, which is quite a irony given that we're speaking at a digital consumer event. I believe in digital, but I think the technology opportunity is actually much broader than limiting ourselves to the digital domain. So let me pause there to answer further questions.
Yeah, so I think, Bhavish, before we go down that path, which we will, I think people have always known you as the original ride-hailing entrepreneur, the war with your global competitor. I remember a seminal time at the peak of the war where it looked like odds were stacked against us, where you were offered $1 billion bucks. I was going to say $1 billion, and you turned it down, and I was shocked. And you said that I need to step back. I need to think about the business model, because in this money raising game, I'm playing to my competitor's strengths, not to mine. So I think bring people, you mentioned along the way a little bit that Ola is profitable. So bring people a little bit up to speed on Ola itself, the mobility business, how that has evolved, and where do you see that going?
Sure, Ravi. You see, the Ola business went through three distinct phases in its journey. The first phase was the early phase of product market fit in India, taking a ride sharing concept and figuring out what of it might work in India. This is what lasted till, let's say, I would say 2014, 15. And then we went into this S curve, and it kind of very nicely followed the S curve of technology penetration. The first phase was the early part of the S curve. The second phase, which was I would say the massive scale up phase, was 2015 to 2018, where we went from 3 cities to 300 or 200 cities. We went from a few thousand rides a day to to more than 1 million rides a day. right? And then that's when competition between us and Uber got really intense. We were burning a lot of money. And then the third phase after that, after 2018 or so, was the consolidation phase, where we strengthened our bottom line, we strengthened the business model. Competition kind of played out. It was clear who came out on top. The only extra, joker in the pack was COVID, because when COVID happened, the industry, which was in consolidation phase, then went into complete shock, because our business went to zero, as bad as any other business was impacted, unlike other digital businesses which benefited from COVID. So we went to zero, and then over the last 1.5, 2 years, we've built it back. Business is now better than COVID, and restructured the cost of the business to make it very profitable. So in that journey, I've seen so many phases now that I feel like I'm a veteran, even though my age is not that of a veteran, but I feel like a veteran. सब कुछ देख लिया, from starting with just a few lakhs of rupees to COVID shutting the business down and rebuilding it. And in that process, Avi, the anecdote you mentioned was sometime around 2017 or so, towards the end of that, what I would say, or right in the middle of that crazy scale-up phase, where we were fighting with Uber. It was a very tough, bruising battle. It was a street fight for every city, for every customer, for every driver. And a lot of capital was being thrown around. We needed capital, and we were also playing the capital game till it was clear to me that if I just keep playing the capital game, I'll be left owning a very small part of this company at the behest of large global investors, in whose larger scheme of things I might not even be relevant, and India might not even be relevant. Forget me as Ola. The India market is a small market at that point, 5-7 years ago, in the global scheme of things of many of these investors. So I decided I have to change, and I said no to that funding round you mentioned. We really started thinking much deeper about competitive advantage, about cost structures, and that was a very strong pivot point in our journey. It still took us a few years to build profitability. So by the time COVID happened, even before that, we were actually profitable in our ride-hailing business. And then COVID made it even better, and the business went down, and then we improved our profitability even further. But that actually helped us really think ahead of the curve in terms of profitability. We didn't react when the season was bad. We reacted when it was clear to us that if we are just reliant on capital as an entrepreneur, then you're truly not your own. Your destiny is not in your own control. But if you think deeply about your business, you can build a different business where you can have your destiny in your control.
Asking a controversial question on behalf of the audience: when can we expect a better ride-hailing experience quality? Not just in India in general.
And just layering that on, Bhavish, I know there's a lot you've spoken to us about sort of why the behavior has changed post-COVID and what you are doing as a company about it, but also talk about the technology, to your earlier point. How are you solving this through tech?
Yeah, so the context in which, if you all remember, pre-COVID, the experience was relatively okay. There were all corner cases of sometimes drivers cancelled, etc. But in general, the industry experience was okay. Now, after COVID, what happened was the whole supply base completely kind of reset. Supply went back into their villages or whatever work they could have done at that point, and then slowly they have come back, or new supply has gotten added into the industry. And as a result, the whole supply demand dynamic got reset, and there was a period when supply was short, and hence the driver behavior reflected that dynamic across the industry, Ola and Uber both. And now it's coming to a better equation on supply demand, but the behavior needs to be reset again. So what we are doing is there are 2-3 aspects of it. One is obviously behavioral, where we are increasingly using, instead of traditional operational policy-driven approaches, we are using more AI. We're using more ways to sense what the driver might do, make a pattern of him, try and through digital means itself and automated means, coach him to do a certain different thing real time. Secondly, we've built our own mapping stack, because that was another major piece of issues which we analyzed. Like sometimes the driver is standing on the opposite side of the road, and it's not like usko शौक है उस तरफ खड़े होने का, उसको map में वही बताया गया कि उस तरफ आओ. And these are the nuances which a mapping stack for India doesn't have. Like the traditional Google Map stack for India doesn't have these nuances. Flyover के नीचे कैसे जाना है, flyover के ऊपर, routing the driver. We have a lot of unique traffic data much more relevant data, which is uniquely about traffic on the roads than Google has. Google has a much larger data set in which they have to search for relevant data for automotive. So that has, we started deploying that. So today we have our own mapping stack, which we will be opening to developers maybe this quarter, and that has helped improve our customer experience. So through this quarter and the next, everybody will see a incrementally improving customer experience, at least on Ola.
Excellent. So Bhavish, I'm going to talk about a question which I think for me really exemplifies you as an entrepreneur and Ola as a company. I think we all have read in sort of startup books about how speed is a moat. I don't think there's any company that I have at least seen personally that really sort of lives that motto every single day. Right from the early days where you moved your entire company from Bombay to Bangalore over one weekend, to building the world's largest, two-wheeler electric factory in 10 months through lockdown, right? Just tell us a little bit about, your thoughts on this. How do you build an org that sort of scales and lives this every single day? And also within that, tell us a little bit about just, your plans for Ola Electric.
So on that, staring in, having been a seed investor at the time, it was interesting because one could have argued setting up, I don't know how many 1,000 acres and all of that is like a, potentially a bet the company risk. But you were very clear that it wasn't a risk. And I think it should not come out that this was a, random risk, right? So how was this thought through? Would be good.
Sure, Ravi. See, I think I will start with with a slightly more philosophical point about entrepreneurship and motivation for entrepreneurship. The way I see the future, I really believe I have two strong beliefs which I live by every day. One is that technology is actually only accelerating, and there's a lot of convergence across multiple domains of technology. And that has a lot of profound implications for how we will build businesses in the future and in the present, and how value will be created. And secondly, I really believe this is India's moment in the sun. And I say that with full conviction and full passion. And, I also, as a addition to that, I feel it's our generation's destiny to really create the country that we always wanted to see. And, I'm sure many people in the audience would relate to this. Growing up, we always felt कि अरे हाँ हमारे देश में ये नहीं मिलता, इंडिया में ये नहीं मिलता, वो यूएस में हमारा कजन रहता है, वो लेके आएगा, right? So, and all of us in the room would have had opportunities to go out of India, but none of us went out of India. So this is truly our generation's destiny. The next 10, 20, 25 years, whatever, take your pick of timeline, will transform India. And I heard that in Tarun's opening remarks also, that $10 trillion economy, if you take a longer lens, let's say till 2047, when India is 100 years old, like 90% of that country still has to be built. So our generation, I feel, is the generation which is going to be the transition generation. We will not get the benefits of all that development, but we'll get the feeling of satisfaction to having done it, right? Like our father's generation, our grandfather's generation built the foundation of a post-independent India. But we will truly be the ones who will create the future, and we'll have 20 years from now, we'll have that feeling of satisfaction that we were there and we helped create this future for ourselves and for our country and for our society. So that's a very core feeling that I live with. And then, in that sense, when we think of building businesses and we think of building companies for the future, I also feel sometimes companies have started being analyzed by, wrongly so in my view, by a yardstick of culture above impact. And I feel like at Ola, we have a culture of impact. That's the extent of what we do when we talk about our proposition to employees, that आप आओ हमारे साथ काम करो और अपने लिए एक legacy बनाओ और मेहनत करो. Right? So it's a culture of impact. Sometimes in the ecosystem, there's been a lot of talk about work-life balance and culture and free bike मिलेगी अगर आप Sunday को coding करोगे. And I don't know what all frills have been done. We've never done these things. In fact, I have done the opposite, saying 6-day working week. Yeah. So I feel we've been able to now at Ola build and attract a certain kind of talent which wants to create impact and which wants to work on these kind of nation scale problems and nation scale opportunities and in truly technologies of the future. And that really helps us keep this pace of execution and rigor going. And it's it's something that people might feel from the outside that it's all because I keep shouting at people, but that's not true. We've been able to institutionalize while remaining nimble and hustling as a young firm. We have enough people who want to hustle just like that, who want to create impact, who want to tell these stories to their family. If you see our factory, which you saw in the video, the person who built that is not me. I didn't go and live on that factory floor while it was being built, but the person who built that has the pride of building that. And same, the scooter, the engineers who worked on our scooter when it came out, and now we're number one in the country. We're accelerating the EV revolution in India. The pride that is associated with it is really something people live with, and that's become a virtuous cycle now. So as a result, we are able to somewhat have a good roadmap on execution. But we also stumble. I've made my share of mistakes. 3 years ago after COVID, I went. I've learned from this. This is the biggest mistake I feel I've made, and learned from it. And Avi, you and I used to bounce off these thoughts, and you've seen me make this mistake and fix it. When in Ola we expanded into what I would call FOMO businesses, food delivery and 10-minute delivery and used car commerce. It was something we corrected quickly. We shut down those businesses. जितनी तेजी से बनाया उतनी तेजी से बंद भी कर दिया.
No, so I think, it's your passion was just coming through, and we would like to open it up to questions. We have backup questions, but I just want to call out one point for all the founders here. If you see, and watching Bhavish grow and frankly growing with him, the passion comes out when he talks about technology. So when we talk about in our matrix moments, which we should plug, when we talk about founder market fit, the real, and there are other plans, Bhavish will come back to on Ola Group, but it's truly technology and technology disruption. And it actually frustrates him that we VCs don't invest in enough technology disruption, and we invest in Me Too businesses. But before we go on, we would love for this to be interactive. So questions? Somebody should ask a question, please.
Yeah.
Hello, Bhavish. This is Sachin here. I worked at Uber for 4 years, and we have competed with you, but I've always had very high regards for you. Second is whatever you have done with EV is game changing, not only for Ola, but also for the country. So very proud of it. My
Thank you.
question is concerning India only. So one of the latest innovations that is coming out from government post UPI, the same team, is ONDC.
Yes.
In Bangalore, Namma Yatri. And coming from Uber, Ola, you would understand how they are trying to go through. So what are your views on ONDC, and how do you see it playing out?
Sachin, a great question, and I think one of the very strong things that have happened in India in the last few years is this whole digital public goods. And in general, this is actually, I think, a uniquely Indian thing which is developing in the country, and I wholeheartedly support it. The UPI, the ONDC, the health stack, etc., etc. Because our ethos from even if you look at philosophically, India's ethos has not been about IP protection. India's ethos has been about societal good. It's a Western ethos about IP protection. So actually, India is the origin of open source in some way, because our epics are open sourced. Who wrote Mahabharata? Who knows? But philosophy aside, I wholeheartedly support ONDC, and we all will have to rejig our business models. And e-commerce will have to do it. Food delivery will have to do it. We will have to do it. But in many ways, I see opportunity in this. It'll increase penetration of digital technologies across the board, across sectors. It'll improve the end consumers' access to services. It'll improve the end service providers' access to distribution. And it'll increase penetration of financial services across the ecosystem. So it's all for the positive. And what tactics and strategies each company will do is in their domain. But in general, at a macro level, I think this is for national good. And I think India is the unique originator of this idea, and at a global stage, it will be uniquely Indian.
Bhavish, by the way, we didn't acknowledge there are about 120 participants on Zoom. I don't know if you can see it. We'll try to take a question or two from them. But actually,
Yes.
first, Rajesh sir.
Lovely to hear you, always inspiring. So tell me, Bhavish, what do you think about AI? Is it a thing that is leading to singularity,
Rajesh, I can't hear you well. Can you keep your mic a little closer? Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, now we
Yes.
can hear.
Yes.
Lovely to see you and always getting inspired from you. So I want to get your thoughts on AI. How do you think it will evolve for your two businesses, but more importantly for society? Do you think it will lead to a singularity? And do you think, what do you think government should do?
Yeah. I think, I'll start with an anecdote. All right. And I'll build my thesis from that anecdote. About today, obviously AI is a big buzzword with OpenAI, ChatGPT, etc. We're all awakening to what AI could do. I don't think in India we've had enough strategic discourse, public discourse about what India should be doing in AI, and I'll come to that also. But about a year ago, I was watching a video of the OpenAI founder, and there he says that OpenAI will ensure AI is built for the good of humanity. And the question that came into my mind is, whose definition of humanity is this? Is it a global definition of humanity? Is it a Western definition of humanity? Is it an Indian definition of humanity? Because if it is truly a democratic global definition of humanity, then the AI should be trained with equal weightage of training data to the population of the countries, no? So that means उसमें 17% Indian training data होना चाहिए, but वो तो कोई करेगा नहीं. So, so if you think of this reality, we in India have to build our own AI and computing ecosystem, and it is strategically relevant, societally relevant, to make sure we have control of our own destiny, because AI is going to be such a profound transformation for everything around us, right? Now, coming into AI specifically, first I wanted to set the premise of it is important for us to build AI in India, for ourselves, for the ecosystem in India. Now, the way I see AI, I believe there will be singularity at some point. That's my belief. And I don't know how many in the audience are aware of the concept of singularity, but basically the concept means at some point machine intelligence surpasses human intelligence, and at that point, basically humans don't know. Like, I'll use an example. What we think of a rat or a rat's intelligence, and what a rat thinks of an ant's intelligence. At some point, AI will surpass ants' intelligence, rats' intelligence, human intelligence. And then we don't know what exists beyond that. We don't know what exists beyond human intelligence, because that's the limit of our thinking. It'll be quite illogical for us to assume human intelligence is the peak of intelligence, right? Because I think you cannot prove that, and you can easily disprove that. So in that sense, singularity. What will make singularity happen? Now, there's a lot of if you think of AI now, if I peel the layers of AI as I see it, there are, I feel, two big layers of AI. There is the mathematical and the model layer. Actually, three big layers. Let's start with the application layer. I think all of us in India, in general, are right now getting excited by the applications of AI. But the real value of AI is actually below that. There's applications, then there's the work on the model research, the math, that I would call that the mathematics of AI, the transformer architectures, or more evolutions of transformers that are happening right now, which are frankly not even in GPT. Then below that is the compute layer. There's a lot of acceleration of computing power still happening. Moore's law is still relatively in action. You're having computing going from CPUs to GPUs to AI engines, and many more things. So so the movement in capability of AI will only go forward. Now, we as an ecosystem need to be ready for both leveraging it. So that means we need to create our own ecosystem. And we also need to have a public debate of the potential impacts of AI across jobs, across value creation. And I feel optimistic about it. I feel, while singularity will happen, I feel it'll happen maybe 15 to 20 years out. I'm not one who feels it'll happen today. Now, today is obviously a hype cycle in AI, so we all feel, "Arey, dekho, wo GPT ne answer kar diya chat mein." But today, still, all GPT models, even GPT-4, is still largely a probabilistic model which has learned from past data. It doesn't have intelligence encoded in it. It doesn't have common sense. It doesn't know what is what. That's why it hallucinates, because it's just It's just trained to dump out the next word or dump out the next image. So there's a lot of evolution, both technical and engineering systems level, that will need to happen to really build generalized intelligence. So in that duration, that's in my view, that's a 2-decade duration, or 1.5 to 2-decade duration. We should really adopt AI wholeheartedly and use it to really improve our productivity. We should become, and India is a data-rich country, so we should, across the stack, applied AI, model research. Academics in India and companies in India should be doing model research, and even at the compute layer, designing our own computation platforms. We should be using AI to accelerate productivity for all our workforce across all industries. The way I see it, if India adopts AI very strongly, our GDP growth, in our mind we have this thing of GDP grows 6 to 7%, and China का जो growth था वो एक ceiling है, वो हम कभी achieve नहीं कर पाएंगे क्योंकि वो communist country थी. But GDP, if you look at GDP growth trends over the last 2 centuries, global GDP growth has only been accelerating slowly because technology has been advancing. So now, if we adopt modern technologies faster, we can grow at 10% a year. We can grow at 12% a year. Right. So that's my view of how I feel. To summarize, we should build AI, the whole stack in India. We should think strategically as an ecosystem about potential implications many decades out. And till that point, we should really adopt AI wholeheartedly to increase productivity and to truly increase economic growth.
Rajesh, sir, you have a follow-up question? No, I'm joking. So this is something I want to call out to the founders. A question Rajesh asked, and Bhavish is an encyclopedia on this. And I think this is the trait of real infinity entrepreneurs, people who are innately curious, insatiably curious, and learning about all the new trends and trying to see applicability. And you can see the passion that comes out whenever it's cutting edge technology.
I'm going to take an audience question, and maybe we'll take 1 or 2 final questions from the group. I'll just quickly take one question from the Zoom audience. So Bhavish, this question actually goes back to one of the answers you gave earlier, which is when you say you took a non-capital intensive approach at the peak of the sort of war with Uber, how did you find your competitive advantage, and what was it?
We worked backwards from the consumer. We looked at the Indian reality. We realized small towns are different from big towns. We realized auto rickshaw customer is different from a car customer. We realized there's opportunity in outstation rides. We realized people need day rentals, airport hires. So because the Indian market is very diverse. It's not a monolithic, large middle class market like the West. And we went into the nitty-gritties of opportunity, surgically looking at different segments of the opportunity and building solutions for that. So as a result, we were the first ones to build auto rickshaw. We were the first ones to build a postpaid solution for consumers to use on ride hailing. We were the first ones to expand to those many cities. Then we were the first ones to launch a really low cost car solution, which we called Micro back then. And then we were the first ones to launch a share product designed for India along different routes, etc. So I think for you to build competitive advantage, you really need to think about your consumer and work backwards from that and design your business model around that. And hence your product proposition, your go-to-market, your cost structures, all around that. So we did that across the board. It was hard work. It took, and it was the first time I was doing it. So I was also learning and growing as an entrepreneur while doing it. And but in the end, that kind of focus on the ground realities really helped us win over our competition.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, we got one more question. The audience, guys, maybe we'll take one more final question after this. So a couple of last
So
questions.
while the mic is being circulated for all the people who attended, and I guess it will come out in the report, this customer insight and segmentation is by far, and we've been lucky to watch it in play. That is the ultimate mode. Just get to know your customer and match your products as deeply as possible to as narrow a segment within that.
Thank you. Hi, Bhavish. This is Chaitanya, and
Hi.
I work with Uber. Unfortunately, I am still with Uber. So you're hearing a lot of Uber today.
Come join us, Chaitanya. Let's do some real work.
Very passionate pitch, and very passionate pitch indeed. I have a question, which is probably slightly, how do you see Indian digital solutions playing a global role? Because the global players have played a role in India, and they have penetrated in certain markets in India. But I don't see that happening with Indian digital solutions moving out. Yes, of course, we have some SaaS companies making leads in, but that's pretty much it, not on the consumer side, right? So is there a play there? Is it something that, people should aspire to be? You talked a lot about, the pride of India, which I'm really excited about. But how do we take the journey forward, more globally?
See, let me start with actually expanding the scope of your question and saying that I would look at this not from a digital opportunity, but a technological opportunity. And I make a nuanced difference between the two. And I know the session is a digital consumer session, but I will use that opportunity to make my nuanced point. See, if you think of the definition of technology, the definition of technology in simple words is whatever gives humanity leverage and productivity, whatever increases human productivity. And the technology of the day keeps evolving. 10 years ago, digital penetration, internet penetration in India was the technology of the day. Today, digital is still very relevant, but within that, AI has become a much more larger theme where it's at its ascendancy at the start of the S-curve of technology adoption. And then there are a lot of non-digital technologies which will create disruptive value over the next decade. Electrification is one of them, or energy transformation, energy transition is a big technology theme. Space technologies is one. Computing technologies or the way silicon is being designed is another. And then I can go on and on, right? So if you broaden your question to how can Indian technology products or services go global, I think that firstly I fully agree with that we should think global, build in India. And India, there's a natural advantage for building in India because it's a large market. It has access to capital. It has a very discerning customer. The Indian consumer, 10 साल पहले ना people used to think about India के वहाँ पे सस्ता माल बेच दो अपना. Car companies used to think कि यार मेरे जो 5 साल पुराने product है वो India में जाके बेच दो. All of them failed. Ford failed, GM failed, everybody failed. Because the Indian consumer, let's ask in this room, nobody wants low quality stuff. We want best in the world, but at Indian cost structures. So that dynamic makes us the most competitive companies in the world. So when we have to think of the Indian consumer, we should think of best products and build the best products. And while doing that, we get a very significant advantage at the global stage. But only if we are building at cutting edge technologies. If we are building 5 years behind what others have done, we have no place in the world because technology penetration happens in those 5 years in any technology paradigm. And then you're left playing a traditional distribution game where we don't have any advantage over the American company or the European company or the Chinese company. Right? So we have to play those technologies which are in their ascendancy, build products and technologies there, build for India first, and then use that scale to build globally. Right? So that's my back of the envelope hypothesis on this.
Excellent. Okay, we'll get maybe one final question in. Can we get a mic here, please? Bhavish, I hope you have time for one more question.
I have a couple of questions I can take.
Okay.
So, Bhavish, I'll give you, actually that dovetails on what Chaitanya said and you said. So I think one of the biggest challenges so I sold my company in digital marketing. I'm now running a consumer intelligence startup in SaaS. Mm-hmm. So when we sell in US, right, what happens is the Fortune 100 companies say, okay, you cost $25,000 a month. Let's see what value you can deliver to us. Yeah. When you try to sell in emerging markets, especially in India, they don't even look at what value that technology can provide, but it starts off with why you're so expensive. So the abundance mindset that exists in at least the developed countries right now for Indian large enterprises or companies to adopt technology at the best level, right? How do you think that mindset is playing, right? So like, is the same thing that how do I save money rather than how do I make money? So do you think that mindset is changing, or that mindset is startups that want to focus on technology to be delivered to Indians will have to live with that scarcity mindset and figure out a different pricing strategy?
I don't see this as an either or. I didn't get your name, but I don't see this as an either or, because I feel the opportunity India gives all of us entrepreneurs is to build world-class products at world-leading cost structures. And there are enough examples in India to inspire us. Look at ISRO. That's a government example. World-class products, but their cost structures are a fraction of even the private sector in the US. Even from a SpaceX, their cost structures are a fraction. think of telecom, world-class data at a fraction of the cost structure. So it can be done. So I don't see this as an either or. In fact, if we see it as an either or, we are doing injustice to our opportunity to leverage Indian cost structures to to deliver globally. And we're doing injustice to the Indian consumer by saying that Indian consumer is cheap. Right. So I feel the opportunity is to truly build world-class products at a lower cost structure and to become globally competitive through that.
Okay, Bhavish, I'm going to ask one more final question on Zoom. We've got 100 and almost 140 people on Zoom, and so I'm trying to do justice to their questions as well. This is a very interesting question. This person asks, when are you coming to tier 3 city and even in the villages in India?
I don't know whether he's referring to the ride-hailing business or the EV business.
I think it's the
ride-hailing.
EV business. EV business.
Okay, well, EV business is already there. We from day one have been selling almost across 90% of pin codes in India because we started online, right? So we were doing the e-commerce model in automotive for the first time. But today, we're also opening our physical centers across. By August we'll be in 1,000 stores, largely across all parts of India. So you can buy today, and if you want to feel and buy from a physical center, wait for 2-3 months. From any corner of India, you'll be able to buy.
Awesome. Okay, guys, we'll call this a wrap. Again, Bhavish, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking out the time. We can never tire of doing this with you, but appreciate you doing this on. I know clearly it looks like you're on your way somewhere, so appreciate you taking out the time.
Thank you, everybody. It was really, really amazing. Thank you, Tarun and Avi, for having me.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.